So my first question, right, is when parents hear choosing the right school, okay, what should that really mean beyond just reputation?
Okay, so the first thing I would like to say, which is very important, is there is really nothing like the right school or the perfect school, so to say. It all depends on what you are looking for as a parent. I don't know
Talking about different schools, I know that different schools, they have different learning styles. So tell us in a layman language what learning styles mean and why parents should care about it.
Learning style just means that we learn differently. Children learn differently. There are different ways to pass the message. It can never be one size fits all.
With your interaction with schools, do you think that schools are particular about this?
There's no hard and fast rule to having your children or knowing your children's learning style. All you need to do is you need to be observant. Right?
Hello, amazing mothers, and welcome to another episode of Motherhood and Me. This space, right, is where we have honest, real, and empowering conversation about raising thriving children while navigating the journey of motherhood. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your child and wondered, am I making the right school choices for them? Or maybe, why does my child struggle with things, that seem easy for others? So that is what we're going to be unpacking today. So stay tuned and we're going to have an amazing time, trust me. So I have with me the amazing, the beautiful Uche. Uche, thank you for coming.
You're welcome. It's my absolute pleasure.
It's such an honor to have you here. And before we dive in, I'm going to read your profile so that we know who we have here, right? So Uche is a distinguished educator and expert in early years education with extensive experience in curriculum implementation and teacher training. She specializes in the British early years framework and has undergone multiple trainings on its effective adoption in Nigerian schools. She holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Abuja and a postgraduate diploma in education and an early year childhood diploma from the Open University, Australia. She's a registered teacher in Nigeria and certified by the British Education Council. Wow. My girl. Lucha is also a global school advocate under the UN Sustainable Development Goals Program. Currently serving as the Assistant Educator, Golden Link Educational Consultants UK, and course contributor for the Teacher Development Program, United Kingdom as well. She's the West African Champion Assessor for the International Quality Mark. She's also the founder and lead consultant of the Early Years Hub, a platform dedicated to transforming the Nigerian education sector. Amazing. Uche is a global speaker, international classroom assessor, and a specialist in early year childhood development. Her expertise span special education, safeguarding, early childhood administration, curriculum instruction, and teacher leadership. She has also participated in nurturing programs aimed at enhancing student well-being. She's passionate about child safety in education. She's also committed to developing policies and frameworks that ensures the protection and holistic development of young learners, particularly within the African context. You can see the profile is loaded, and she's been doing this for years. Like how many decades now?
2 decades and so 24 years actually.
24 years. So you can see our guest here is loaded. So you can trust everything we're going to say today, especially because, we're talking about school choice, our children, and all that. So we're super, super glad to have you.
My absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. So my first question, right, is when parents hear choosing the right school, okay, what should that really mean beyond just reputation? What should that mean to them? not just beyond, just choosing any school or choosing school because their children are in that particular school?
Okay, so the first thing I would like to say, which is very important, is there is really nothing like the right school or the perfect school, so to say. It all depends on what you are looking for as a parent. Now, some parents go to schools because of the social standing of that school. Oh, I have politicians' children who go there. I have content creators. I have influencers' children who go there. So, of course, when my children mingle with them and they become friends, we get invites to those kind of occasions, and I'm also in the spotlight. And then we have parents who are all about the aesthetics. They have a swimming pool. They have 16 big story buildings. We have parents. And then we have parents like me who are about the discipline, right? Who are about, okay, it doesn't have to be a school that is, of course, aesthetics is important, yes, to some extent, but it doesn't have to be about whether you have a swimming pool. It's just about what is being inculcated into my children. So whenever, as a parent, if I need to pick a school, of course, I'm thinking of, if my child is coming back this way, how is my child, if I send my child to school, how is my child coming back in terms of morals, values, and behavior, and just the child being able to know and tell the difference between wrong and right. And then, of course, the academics is important. Now, why I didn't say academics first, and I'm sure some people are listening and they're like, but you're an educator, why not academics first? Okay, so if my child has the wrong attitude, nothing gets into her head or nothing gets into his head. So I need to be sure that the environment is enabling enough for teaching and learning to take place. So for your question, as a parent, I'm speaking as a parent, not just as an educator, I look out for how my children turn out at the end of the day, because there's a popular saying, character will take you where certificates will not take you. So it's very, very important as a parent, if you want to choose the right school, you need to know what the values you intend to get for your children. You need to know there has to be a motive. There has to be a why. So I'm not going to sit here and tell parents, I'm not going to deceive you and say, look out for this, look out for that. No, it is what you want. Right. But for me, as an educator and as a parent, I look at morals, I look at values, I look at behavior, because that's what the world needs now.
Yeah.
Do you understand? That's what the world needs now, regardless of how many certificates. Tell me really, Abby, there are a lot of children who don't have good character or have masters and have all manner of certificates, and behavior is nothing to write home about.
And you can't keep them in any job.
You can't keep them in any job.
Even in business.
It can't keep
If
them.
you have a very bad attitude towards your customers,
exactly,
you're going to lose totally.
You're going to. But then again, if you find a school that has all of that, oh my goodness, then
do you think there's schools like that in, especially in Abuja?
No.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that answer.
No, seriously. Because I will tell you why. Like, I've been in this sector for a long time, right?
Decades.
Yes. So there are schools that have aesthetics and have influencers and have all of that. But again, because of the kind of work I do as an independent consultant, I get to speak to a lot of school leaders. And then, by the grace of God, I have a wide network of both, across Africa and in the UK. So I get to speak to these people, and I hear parents complain a lot about character. So I have a parent whose children go to a very good school, right? The very good school, one of the very good schools in Abuja. And she was complaining seriously to me like a few weeks back. She said the school is good, academics is good, but the children, they're not held accountable.
Okay.
So you see, children, because their parents are seemingly big people, a child does something and gets away with it. So her daughter almost got, really, really scarred by another child, and nothing was done. So she said it has happened several times, but this is a school where people are really rushing into, because of course the big people's children are there, they have aesthetics and they have the name. So I don't think, I bet differ though, I might be wrong, but I don't think that there's any school that has all of that. the school my children go to have discipline, but they don't have so much of the aesthetics and so much of the influencers and all of that. But you see discipline, they have it. It reminds me, their school actually reminds me of secondary school.
Really?
Contrabands and all those things, so I don't think that there's any school in Abuja that has everything. Because if there was, maybe a lot of people, they would have a lot of waiting lists. Both of us won't actually be looking for where to take our children.
Yeah. But do you think it can be done?
It can be done if everybody works together. It can be done. Because the truth is, I was in a conversation with someone a few weeks ago, and I was saying to him that the problem we have really in the education sector is the fact that, yes, we have people who are there to quality assure that we are getting it right, but how far can they go? Now, a lot of these people don't have jurisdiction over some private schools, because some private school people already make phone calls and things just happen. But again, if private school owners come together and realize that, okay, this is about the children, not just about my pocket, not just about my private, not just about me getting everything, we will get there. But really, I don't know when.
Talking about different schools, I know that different schools, they have different learning styles. So tell us in a layman language what learning styles mean and why parents should care about it.
Okay, so I'm trying to look for the easiest way to explain this. So we're different, right? And I could be speaking to you and speaking to someone else, and I'm saying something, but you're hearing it exactly, you're understanding it differently, or you might be hearing me, but you are not assimilating what I'm saying because you are very pictorial. You have to see pictures. You have to understand. So I'm giving you, maybe I'm trying to describe a house. Oh, do you know that house that is close to? And you're just looking at me like, what house? Until I show you a picture. Oh, you're like, oh, I pass this house every time I'm going. So learning style just means that we learn differently. Children learn differently. There are different ways to pass the message. It can never be one size fits all. It can't be blanket teaching. You cannot assume as a teacher that you have 15 children in a class and all of them will learn the same way. So we have the auditory learners, the ones that, yes, they can sit down and listen to you blab all day and they're understanding everything you're saying. And then we have the visual learners that they're actually hearing you, but I have to see, you have to show me. And then we have the kinesthetic learners that they have to do. You're just talking, but I must do to be able to understand what you're saying. And so for parents, you must understand how your children learn. Because that is the only way that you can even know if learning is taking place. Because as an educator, if a parent comes to me and says, oh, you were teaching my child and my child didn't get, I'm expecting that you would also tell me that, okay, he likes to see pictures, he likes to see, but if you're a parent who doesn't even know how your child learns, you come to me as the teacher and you're complaining, I'm trying to tell you that this is how your child learns, but you're just oblivious of what exactly is she talking about. So the only way you can track how far your children are going is if you, as a parent, knows how your children learn. Now, we're thankful for the internet. We're thankful for ChatGPT and we're thankful for AI. We're thankful for AI. Parents can always go there and search these things out. And you can, if you have 3 children, they can't all learn the same way.
I have twin boys.
Exactly.
They don't learn the same.
They can't all learn the same way. But just imagine you as a mom not knowing how your twins learn. You would struggle.
But can you explain to mothers how they can identify these learning styles?
Okay,
so sorry, before you answer that, so I guess there are 2 questions in one. With your interaction with schools, do you think that schools are particular about this? Because if I'm going to pay a lot of school fees, a lot of money, sending my child to your school, you should be able to do the work. Why are you pushing it to me? So if, for example, they push that responsibility to parents, how can parents identify or understand the learning styles of their children? And how do you ensure that these schools
you are about to break a table that I'm not going to shatter.
Because if shatter is breaking, let's even burn it.
Oh my God.
Because this is your space. They are doing amazing work in that space. You've worked with various schools and you're still going to work with a lot of schools, both Nigeria and abroad. I want you to tell us how this can work, both teachers and the mothers.
Yes. This is a very, very tough question because I know this is a table that a lot of people watching will just say, okay, so the first question, as a parent, how do you identify? I think the easiest way for me to answer that question is to give you a little social story or an example.
Okay.
So my son, while growing up, right, he's 10 now, but while growing up, I would maybe because I'm a teacher, so it was easier for me to know. But then again, even if I wasn't a teacher, it was just something that I had to observe. And so observation is very important, especially, in their foundation stage.
Yeah,
observation is how you know what's next or what to do next. So I noticed when you're talking to him, he's just doing something else. He's either fixing or he's either touching or he's going through pictures. And then I observed that he was always doing that. Okay, so I observed that he's not the kind of child that is listening to you. Even if you're talking, he has to do. He has to see, and so that was a point of note for me that, okay, this child always has to do something. He was the child who would want to fix the fridge if it gets bad. Yes, he was the child who the TV is bent. He would always want to arrange it. He was the child who would always want to just fix the door handle if it's fallen off. He was that child, right? And so you're talking to him, but he's not listening. So you keep shouting, your ears are not just a part of your body. Your ears are not just for decoration. Use them. But I realized I'm going to shout till eternity. This boy has to do. And so we get to school, and then the same report I'm getting from the teachers. Oh, no. You're talking to him, he's not doing anything. But once you give him something to do, like you tell him, okay, arrange the book copy. He's very active in that. Take this laptop to another teacher for me. He's very active, but he can be talking in class and you're just saying, keep quiet. It's like you're saying it is coming out from here. Yes, so these are things that I observed, and even till tomorrow, he sits down and he just picks up a pencil and tries to draw the entire house. Till tomorrow. Are you serious? Yes, till tomorrow. He can just sit and say, Mommy, your hair looks different today. Let me draw you so that you can see how it looked yesterday and you can see how it looked. Yes. So if you want him to learn, it has to be something he's doing or something he's seeing. If you're just talking, he's not picking whatever you're saying. And so as a parent, I had to do that observation. Right. And for me, I realized as an adult as well, because even adults have learning styles.
Of course. Yeah.
So I have to see. I have to do. If you're talking to me, I might just be listening to you, but I get bored easily just listening. Yes.
I like to listen. I like to watch.
Yeah, I can listen, but I get bored easily. Just tell me, let's do this. Let's see. That's the kind of person I am. So there's no hard and fast rule to having your children or knowing your children's learning style. All you need to do is you need to be observant. At home, nobody is going to do that for you.
Definitely.
Nobody will do that for you. There's no, and then once you've observed, you cannot do further research, but you need to be able to observe, or else you can't even reach out to. And that's why you see some parents maybe they have 2 or 3 children, and it seems like they're meeting the needs of one, but they're not meeting the needs of the other. You now hear things like, oh, favorite, and the child is like, oh, every time I tell you something, you don't listen to me. That's because that parent doesn't even know how to get across to that child. So it's not just in learning, it's in everything. How do you get across to your children? It's only when you observe how they learn, how they assimilate, how you communicate with them, how they communicate with you. Some children communicate by crying. Some communicate by actually sitting to speak to you. Some just get into a mood. So you have to observe. You have to observe. And then for the second question, do you really want me to answer that question?
Please do.
Okay, so for one of the schools that I was consulting for in the last term, I almost lost my mind because I had to ask the teachers, is it just me or we have thrown learning styles out of the window? I actually had to ask because I went into classes and it was just blanket teaching. There was no differentiation. The teacher was talking and everybody was just seated there looking at her. And the ones who have already traveled to Disneyland were still seated there. And then at the end of the term, you see teachers now saying, oh, we did all of this throughout the term. How come she didn't get it? You taught her the way you wanted her to learn, not the way she wanted to learn. So what I'm saying is a table that shatter is a lot of teachers have lost the idea of learning styles. They have lost it. It is let's just teach and go. But somehow you can't blame them. But that's story for another day.
Another thing is I think schools just employ anybody
exactly.
That's available.
And I tell people teaching profession is the easiest job to get into when you don't have any other job. So you just have a friend who is probably a head of school somewhere, or who knows the head of school, or they go to the same church. I've had that encounter 1,000 times where someone comes to me, oh, I heard you're heading a school. Please, I have this, my sister's cousins, friends, brothers, uncle that is looking for a job. Anything at all, even if it's to be guidance and counseling, even if he can play the piano, even if he's music teacher. And I'm looking at you like, are you kidding me? Like, do you think it's just somewhere? And that's why you get into schools and you have pedophiles, you have people who have no business being in the school system. But then again, it still boils down to our system.
It's our owners need to do better. They need to do better. Even if, what you said is true. I had someone visit me one time. He came with a girl that have lost her dad, and so money was tight, and they were trying to find work for her. So, and this guy knows a lot of school owners. So in front of me,
he called someone and she got the job. Oh my goodness! So you see, it's recycling.
It's not fair.
No, it's not.
It's not fair because parents are paying so much.
It's not.
And then you're just giving average or nothing. So and then you won't even train these people.
No, so they don't train them because they tell you that when they train them, they leave. So I have that conversation. It's a tiring conversation, maybe I won't lie to you, because I have that conversation all the time with school leaders, and you just hear we train them and they leave. And I ask myself, if they were not trained, would you get them? If someone else didn't train them, will they be employable for you? No, they won't be. Do you know that sometimes I sit in an interview room and out of 15 people, we can't find a teacher? That's because I know what we're looking for. But imagine if I'm not on that panel, they will take anybody.
And that's
just because we're desperate.
And that's even that you conducted
interview.
So
exactly. So one of the people who just go with cards and go with numbers. So really, it's I don't know. So that's why I'm telling you that there's no. Yeah. So that's why I'm telling you from the first question. There's no right school or there's no. This is the perfect school, because every school has this problem we're talking about. Even the big schools. I've known people like the big schools that have told me, "Oh, you want to work there?" And I know somebody there now. Yes. In the really big schools, and they're like, Uche, if you want to work now, we already know where we can take you to. Like, you don't have any problem. It's just to make a phone call. All they need to do is, I've gone for an interview in a big school, and I spoke with the person for only 5 minutes, and she just asked me, do you want the job? For 5 minutes. Just for 5 minutes. She spoke with me for 5 minutes. And she already asked me, yes, I know my stuff, I know, but come on. For 5 minutes, I could have read anything from the internet. I could have done, and then that's when I knew that was not the place I was supposed to be. Because you can't speak to me for 5 minutes and you're already asking me if I want the job. So that's the thing.
It's actually unfortunate. So, but what do you think are the early signs that, parents need to look out for to know that their children are not thriving in the school they are currently in?
Okay, so speaking from the early years expert or early years practitioner point of view, there are milestones. I know we've had this conversation before, like there are milestones that children should be able to achieve per time. And that's why I always tell people that from birth to 5 years are the most important years of every child's life.
True.
The most important. I don't argue with the world, but they are the most important, those foundational years, because whatever the children don't get there, they will struggle. Now, imagine a child, I'll give you an example. Imagine a child who is dyslexic, for instance. And then, how would the child or the parent or the teacher observe is by when the child sees letters and they're in the reverse. So the child sees D and calls it B, or the child sees P and calls it Q. Those are some things that even in reception, you can tell. Now, I'm not saying that at that age you should be able to diagnose that, this child, no, but there are some things, some milestones that you know that, okay, this child is not meeting this particular need. And so when your child is in a school, you're able to ascertain, okay, my child is not achieving this at this time. Of course, we know that children learn, at their own pace, at different paces, at different times. But on the average, in their chronological age, there are things that children should know. So there are things that a 5-year-old should be able to do across board.
True.
Whether the child is in mainstream or the child is in what's it called, on the spectrum, there are things that their chronological age expects that they're able to meet. And so if your child is in a school and you keep second guessing, you keep asking, my child is supposed to be doing this by now. The child is not comparing your child, no, but it's you knowing. And that's why I tell parents now, it is not negotiable for you not to know anything about education or anything about child development. You cannot not know. Because if you don't know, you can't keep track. That's why these schools will just feed you what they think you want to hear. But I'll give you an example. You are not basically in the education space, but you know a lot. So if someone in a school tells you, oh, man, you're able to tell that person, no, this is XYZ is not what is working. But imagine you just go and they tell you, oh, no, it has to do this. You just be like, okay, no problem. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for telling me. For telling me what exactly. And then the child moves from one class to another. And when the child now gets to primary, that's when they now tell you, oh, he's unable to hold a pencil. And you're wondering, but they told me he will outgrow it. They told me he would do this. They told me he would do that. You now start going, they told me. By then, that time has passed.
Wow.
And when they get to primary, it's serious work.
It's serious work.
No
one has time to be
No. Or you tell me a child can't hold the spoon. Yes, you might say, okay, they cannot hold the pencil but at least a child should be able to feed themselves. And then they get to year 1 or year 2 and the child is still holding the spoon like this. And then they're now telling you, oh, but they told me when he was in. No, you were not aware of what he was supposed to know.
Wow.
So it still boils down to parents need to know. You just need to be equipped. No, you can't. You can't. You can't just leave the school to raise your children. Yes, you're paying that money, but if you're paying money and you don't even know, it's just like you go to buy something, and you don't even know what you're going to buy. You just paid money. They just gave you a box. You now take it home. That's when you now get home and say, but this is not what I paid for. What I ordered was what I got. So yes, I agree that as a parent, you're paying money. But do you know what you're paying for? Or you're just paying for it? That's why I said at the beginning, you must know your why. You must know your motive. Why is my child going there? So if you're paying fees for your child to go and meet, the high-class people's children, then don't complain when your child is not reading. Because at the end of the day, that was your focus, not my child. And so when other children are now getting A's and, beating the IJ, you now start complaining. But then you had already forget that you are told the teacher, you know what, my own is just, let him just meet Uche's children. And yes. Or even in early years, you have even in early years, you have parents who tell you, I don't want my child, which is understandable. I don't want my child to see all these ABCs and one thing. I just want my child to interact, to just have to. Yes, we have a lot of that. I just want my child to be able to interact, my child to be able to socialize, my child to be confident. Yes, we have a lot of parents, especially in the earlier setting, who tell you that.
So what happens when they're in primary school and they're not able to?
So that's the thing. So there has to be a balance. But if you, as a parent, keeps hammering it on me as a teacher, please, all this homework you keep giving us, all this, I'm not interested in that. How did my child play with all these children today?
Really?
It only takes an intentional teacher to know that, okay, this parent has asked for this. But I think that if I don't do this, behind the scenes, this child will struggle. Yes. It only takes an intentional teacher. But then again, how many intentional teachers do we have now? How many?
So talking about learning styles, right? Do you think it changes
a
while or
it can change?
I ask this because when you get to primary school, nobody has time to be identifying whether it's picture or writing.
I know, and so you see, that is actually where we are wrong again, because you need to. We don't understand in this part of the world that pictures or teaching with pictures is not just for early years. Secondary school children can learn with pictures. Primary school children can learn with pictures. And okay, so I remember there was a post I put up on LinkedIn, I think last month, and it was on no blanket teaching, like every child has their learning style, and I had quite a lot of engagements, people talking about, oh yes, that's true, but there was this particular person who said he doesn't agree because the world now, nobody has time. Somebody goes for a job interview, and are they going to tell the person, or are they going to give the person pictures? And I said to him, that's why you must build the foundation first. That person, that child needs to understand. So it brings me to your question, does it change? Yes, if I'm in early years and I learn through pictures, as I grow, it can change. But then you don't expect me not to even know anything about how I learn, and then you put me in an interview room 15, 20 years later. And so that's why we have people that even if they get the job, they cannot deliver it because they don't even understand what you're saying. You're telling them, oh, you wrote this letter this way, and they're just looking at you like, what exactly is this saying? So it starts from the foundation. But of course, it can change. And a child can have more than one learning style. Yeah, a child can have more than one learning style.
Oh, that's good. That's quite encouraging.
Oh, yeah, it can change. It can change.
So what do you think are the top 3 things every parent must consider before choosing a school for their kids? Remember, I said important. I know there's all the social, whatever, connections and all that. What are important for parents that really want the best for their children?
So it's still, honestly, Abby, it still answers, the first question still answers this, because your values are different from my own values, So the first thing I would actually consider and encourage parents to consider is discipline. That's the first important thing. Because again, we've seen a lot of videos, heartbreaking videos of children who bully other children. Children have committed suicide because someone has body shamed them in school. And I always tell people, I know I had that conversation. I think there was a video that was trending a few weeks back about a boy who was beating up another boy, and they were making a video. And when I was in, a conversation with someone, I said, trust me, that didn't just start that day.
Oh yeah, sure.
It didn't start that day. So what did this
do anything?
So what did the school do about it before it got to that point? So before any bullying incident goes viral, it has happened in the school a couple of times. And so that is why it is very important as a parent that you look out for discipline. Because if my child is going to a school where they are bullied, my child is not going to come out with top grades. Because the child will become depressed.
Yes.
So why am I looking for top grades if what will actually enable my child learn is not there? So the first thing is, how does that school handle morals? behavior management, discipline, do they have it in them? Or anything goes? If a prominent person's child does something, do they handle it before they just let it slide because they're afraid that they're going to call them out on social media to say, oh, do you know what happened in that school? Do you know what happened in that school? And then they just punish my child. So the first important thing I would look out for, and I would encourage parents to look out for, is discipline. What is their disciplinary policy or system? What is it like in that school? Then after that, we can also look at academics. What is their top? Are they top ranked in academics? Where are they really? How do they take their academics? And then the third thing is extracurricular. It's very, very, the world is evolving now. It can't just be only sitting down and pen and paper. Extracurricular, how are you preparing the children for the future of work? How are you preparing them for what they're going to meet outside? And when I say extracurricular, I don't just mean only basketball and football or ballet. Now there's AI. What are the tech skills? What are the soft skills, vocational skills? I remember there was a school my children were going that they had every year group had a vocational skill they learned. So maybe year 5 you learn hair making, year 6 photography, yes. Maybe year 4 baking. So what are the extracurricular or skill sets that school has? So the first one, discipline. The second one, of course, the academics. And then the third one, skill set or extracurricular activity.
You've mentioned this discipline thing several times. Is it easily identified? Like when you see a school, is it easy to say this school has discipline? Like how do you immediately know?
Okay, so in some cases you might not know immediately, but in some cases you might know. Right?
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. When my children went into a school, and the way the children were actually, the way they were greeting, the way they had all their, I could tell that, okay, there was something here something was going on here. But there are some schools you go to and the children just, the first of all, do you understand? But this particular school, I noticed that they had a particular way they dressed. So if they're wearing blazers, everybody's wearing blazers. Like they were all greeting. And there are certain places that we went to, we didn't see students at that time.
Okay.
So it was easy to know that, okay, they probably have a policy that says children shouldn't be at the admin block at this time. Children shouldn't be here at this time. So there's some, especially if you're observant. Again, I go back to observing. Not everybody will be able to look at that. But like I said, I know what I was going there to look for. So it was easy for me to put down my thoughts to say, okay, I noticed this, I noticed that. So you might not notice at first. And then some schools also would pretend at first because they want you to come.
Get in.
So once you get in, you now start to observe these things.
Yeah.
And that's why you see parents are always changing schools.
Yeah.
And then I get tired really when parents change schools all the time. I get tired because you're just moving from one, it's a cycle.
Yeah.
So you're just moving, and all the school owners and leaders, we know ourselves.
And I guess that's where PTA comes in. If you feel like your child or the school is not acting whatever, I feel like PTA should be able to influence certain things.
But again, the PTA, who are the people running the PTA? The parents.
Yeah, so if you feel your child is that not an avenue?
So if I feel my child is not doing well, but you feel your child is doing well, so tell me, who is going to help us? Do you understand that? So the truth is, a lot of schools have cancelled PTA.
Really?
Yes, a lot of schools have cancelled PTA because it doesn't help. It doesn't help. Sometimes when you go for PTA meetings, they just end up fighting because this person is not agreeing with you. Yes. Imagine you have PTA meeting and then a parent, they talk about school fee increment. And then a parent who feels that everybody feels are big enough to pay school fees, the parents will not say it's too big. Then you are now thinking this fees is too much. You are now looking, if I talk now, they'll say I've spoken. Let me just keep quiet and then you'll be suffering in silence. So the PTA doesn't really, because it's the parents that are still the PTA chairman, PTA secretary, PTA this, PTA that. They're still the same people.
I think it's different for different schools. Like the school my son is in, I like to attend every PTA meeting because I want certain issues addressed. And they listen.
And then it's a PTA that works.
Exactly.
It's a PTA that works.
True.
Do you understand? It's a PTA, and I want to believe that the owner of the school is also involved in that PTA. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
That she's involved, he or she is involved. Exactly. So no matter what it is, she will still draw the parents back to say, this is my vision. So I know that you people are PTA, but this is my vision. But what happens in a school where the owner or the director just says, okay, I've handed it over to the parents, anything you want to do. So they are running the school how they want. So there are some places that, yes, PTA can work as long as the vision is still intact. But there are places where PTA...
Wow. Like, we have this is a lot.
I know.
I'm glad we're having this discussion. All right. So I want to ask, how important is curriculum versus teaching approach?
So you teach what is basically in the curriculum, right? So the curriculum is a guide. It's actually a guide, like a roadmap. It's just like going on a journey. If you're not sure where you're going, you need a map that guides you. So the curriculum is the guide. It's like the manual. You buy a new electronic, you have a manual. Now the problem really is in implementing or the application of that curriculum. That's the major problem. How do people lift what is there and pass on learning? Now, it is important to know that even though the curriculum is there as a guide, your aim is to ensure that the children go with something. Yes. So, for instance, in my curriculum, I might have transportation. What do I want the children to know about transportation? It's not just to say transportation is the movement of goods and services, the one we knew donkey years ago. It's the movement of goods and services from one place to another. What do you want the children to know about? So the fact that transportation is there in the curriculum is just to give the children an idea that there's something called transportation in this world.
There's something conveying something.
Exactly. But beyond just conveying, what else do I want the children to know? So the curriculum is there as a guide that leads to effective teaching and learning. And it's only if you even understand the curriculum and then you have different methodologies, different strategies that you will use to implement that curriculum.
Do you think parents should prioritize academics versus, the emotional growth of children, or can there be a balance?
So, there can be a balance, but I would say, first of all, the emotional state of your child is important, because it still brings me to how would your child learn if that child is not settled? I remember the school my children go to, the first time they had their open day, when the teacher was trying to tell me, the first question I asked the teacher is, how is she emotionally? Has she settled in? Does she feel out of place because she's new in the school? Does she feel out of place? Does she stay on her own? Has she socialized? Before, as the teacher told me, that's when I now said, so how is the math? How is the this? How is the that? My first point of call was not, how is she doing in math? How is she doing in science? No, my first point of call is, has she settled in? Do you think she's having challenges? Do you think that she feels out of place because she's new? Do you think that there are ways you can support her to settle in properly? Do you think it's affecting her because these are new? This is secondary school, it's different from primary school. This is a new environment for her. Those were my first questions before anything. So for me, the emotional state or the emotional stability of your child should be top priority before. Because, for instance, a child who is going through bullying or a child who is going through body shaming, no math, no algebra is getting into their brain. None of that is getting in, trust me.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think my next question, right? I think you've touched a bit about it, but I want it spelled out for parents. And that is, what are the biggest mistakes you see parents make when choosing a school for their kids?
Okay, yes, just like you said, I answered it. So, not knowing what you're looking out for. So you're going to this school, or I'm taking my children to this school because my friends' children are going there. So we need to go there. And then I'm taking my children to this school because, I heard they have a very big swimming pool. Or I heard, yes. Now, I'm not saying that those things are, because those things are also part of extracurricular activities like swimming and the rest of it. But if you're going there because of that, then that's a big mistake. So it is knowing what you're looking at. I don't judge any parent really, Avi. In all honesty, I don't judge any parent that has their motive for taking their children. You know your struggle. You know what you want. You know where you want your children to be at the end of the day. But again, at the end of the day, how does it benefit your child? Because it's not just about you. It's about your child. Because 10, 15 years down the line, you are actually going to start telling that child, but I sent you to school, you didn't learn anything. I sent you to school, you just brought me certificates. You just brought me palasa, that this is what I sent you to school. And the child is just looking at you. When I went there, you told me I should go and meet XYZ. You told me I was going there because my friends, they are entering limousine to go to party. So that's why you told me to go there. Do you understand? So you also need to consider the fact that this thing I'm doing, how do I balance it? So when you get to a big school, you ask them, okay, I know that I heard that this person's child is here, this person's child is here, but come, let me ask you, what is your exam? Do your children take external exams? If they take external exams, what are your ratings like? You can balance it. They can go to a school where prestigious people are and still do well.
True.
So don't make the mistake of just taking them only to that school where every weekend there's a party in one big place or the other.
That's a selfish way of doing things. So were there cases where, I know there are few good schools, especially in Abuja, where do you think there have been times they were put in the wrong light?
Yes. Yes.
Being accused of what they are not.
Yes.
What's an example?
Not to mention the name of the school, but I worked in a school many years ago, and the school is fantastic. Oh my goodness. The school is fantastic. I think a lot of things that I know, along my journey as an educator, I got from that school. Yes, that was like in 2008.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Many years ago. But there was a drowning incident in the school, I think a couple of years ago, and that kind of just put the school on a very wrong radar on the map. So, these days I speak to people, and when I try to refer back to that school, just the way I'm praising the school now, and people just go like, it's not that school that girl drowned and nothing happened. And then you see me trying to defend the school like I'm still working there. Do you understand? But I know that their system, I think they're one of the schools that I would say to some extent they have almost everything you're looking for.
Really?
Yes. That's what school I can beat my chest. That's what school I can beat my chest, and say, because I worked there, and I still have very close people that are still there now. But just that unfortunate incident kind of put them in the wrong place.
Wow.
And it wasn't even the fault of the school, but hey, what can we do? Exactly,
Wow. So I have two questions. Okay. So beyond school, right? How can mothers or parents support their child's learning style at home? And what daily habits do you think they can put in place to help them, go in that learning style?
Okay, so I know that these days parents are very busy. Mothers are I think mothers work a lot now, But
compared to back in the days, isn't it?
I think so. I might be wrong, but anyway.
I mean, which is understandable because everything has come.
Exactly, everything. And then I think now, as you grow, you get more exposed to what you want your children to have, as against what you had. How you want your children's life to be now, as against so you're looking for your children having the best, as against what you had growing up. So, in all fairness, and not to tone down anything that parents are doing, but I think the best way is to spend time with them. I know that we have holiday times, children go on holidays. Some parents, not like we parents who work in schools, but some parents who don't work in schools go to work. Now the Easter holiday is over, they've gone back to work, children are. But whatever opportunity you have, public holidays, weekends, I think you should just get together with them. It doesn't always have to be go out and buy food. It could be, okay, come and read a story to me. It could be a child that you probably might not even know that child is having struggles reading. And maybe the teacher has been trying to pass that message on to you, but you're too busy to even listen. And then you can just tell that child, oh, Joe, come on, read this. And then you see that the child is struggling, right? You can even there are a lot of games you can do with your children, even YouTube. There are a lot of YouTube games educational games you can do with your children that have math, that have science, that have all of that. It could be a fun way, but again, you're learning. So imagine you're doing a math question and you're saying, oh, let's quickly do mental math. And you say 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And then maybe your 14-year-old is still doing 2 plus 2. Put it together plus 2. That way you already know that there's something wrong somewhere. Do you understand? Or your 5-year-old is telling you 2 plus 2 plus 2, 100. And you're like, oh my God. Do you understand? So the only way you can know is when you spend time with them. And as much as possible, communicate with their teachers. But once you communicate, you must know what the communication is about. And you can only do that when you spend time with them.
If a child is struggling academically, how can a parent determine whether it's a learning style or school, and how can they correct that?
So first of all, if a child is struggling, you have to, and the child is in school, the first thing you want to do is to go and have a conversation with the teacher. Right, to find out, okay, this is, again, as a parent, you would have observed, because you're not going to go to the teacher and say, oh, my child is struggling. How do you know my child is struggling? So, for instance, depending on the class your child is, you see, from birth to 3 years, they don't do homework. But let's assume your child is 4 or your child is 5. And then comes home probably maybe with a worksheet or something that they've given that child to do. And let's assume it is counting numbers, maybe numbers to 20. And we're doing the home fun together. And I realized, okay, after 1, he doesn't know what 2 is. Like, he has no idea what. And I know that at that age, he should. That's why I said at the chronological age, there are some things that they should know.
Baseline.
So I'm looking, my 4-year-old doesn't know that after 1 is 2. And then, so I'm just thinking, okay, maybe that first day and then I keep doing, so randomly I can just say, sing a song, 1, and then he doesn't answer me. I know that there's a struggle. I go to the teacher and I say, okay, I noticed that Joe had, we were trying to do the home fun. But the problem is a lot of parents, when they see home fun, they just do it for the children. And they send it.
I never do.
They just do it for the children. So the teacher knows that this child is struggling. Yes, the teacher knows. So as a teacher, I know that this child is struggling in school. But when the home fund comes back, it's perfectly done. And you see, with such parents, it's difficult to tell the parent that child is struggling, because a parent who is really serious about the struggling child will actually go to the teacher and say, this home, I used to send home fund back. And the teachers will be asking me, you are a teacher, you're sending home fund? I say, yes. Because I will not do home fun for a child that doesn't know it. So as a parent, we should be comfortable enough to send it back to say, you know what, he didn't get it. Maybe you need to teach it again, or tell me the strategy you're using. Let me try at home. But there has to be a partnership. So if a child is struggling, there has to be a partnership. That way, it's only when you've had that partnership and you've had that communication, then you can know whether it is just the learning style, or whether it is age, or whether it's environment, or maybe there is something the child doesn't just understand.
In my mind, I was wondering, should I ask this question or not? Because if we have parents that are not intentional, it's very difficult to.
It's very difficult. I
was going to ask you, at what point do you think a parent should pull their kids out of from the school? After making effort, but I don't even know if that is the case. So
exactly.
Let's say
an intentional parent. Yes. For an intentional parent, you already know where this child is not meeting up. And you've had that conversation over and over. It could even be from when the child was 4. You had that conversation to say, okay, my child is not where he's supposed to be. And they keep telling you, oh, he will get there, he will get there, he will get there. And you as an intentional parent, you seem to be
doing a lot at home. You seem to be, just the way you spoke to me earlier, you seem to be doing a lot at home. You seem to be putting a lot of effort. You're getting a lot of worksheets. You're making sure that you're following up on your child's progress. And then in school, you keep getting the same, he's not. You just know that, okay, they're not paying attention. Because when I do it with him at home, he seems to be getting it. When I do it with him at home, he seems to be receptive of what I'm saying. But every time in school, you keep telling me he's not paying attention, he's not this, and he's not getting better in school, but when we are doing it at home, he's better. I think you now need to start considering, probably maybe they are not giving my child what,
or making effort.
Exactly, they are not making effort, to ensure that he gets what he's supposed to get. So I need to start thinking, what else can I do? This environment is definitely not enabling anymore for my child.
Considering the fact that the schools in Nigeria or Abuja, which is where we already have experience in, we can't decipher immediately if this food is good or not. Are there things that you can see in the environment, in the school environment, that will immediately tell you this is a red flag, don't go there?
So the first thing you can look out for, if there's no play area. I know that sounds bad. I know that sounds very weird, but really, if there's no play area.
The schools you see, one corner.
If there's no play area, then that's a red flag. So my children are cooked up in the room every day. My children are cooked up in the class. So if there's no, because that's the first thing you see when you get to a school, before you now even get into the classes, to say maybe they don't have resources. And when I say resources, it doesn't have to be interactive whiteboard, no. But the first thing you see when you get into a school, of course, is how the security even takes you.
Yeah.
Whether security doesn't ask you any question, you just say, I'm here for inquiry. Okay, go in. So you already know that the security here is porous. You already know. And then you walk into the school, you're looking for the play area. I don't see any. That's a red flag, because I'm not going to take my child to a school where they're just going to cook them up in the room. No.
So, with this learning thing, right? So I'm not sure how strong you are with children with special needs.
Oh,
okay.
I was actually even going to speak about that.
Yeah, please, I really need you to speak about that, because what I've noticed is that there are parents with children with special needs, and I don't think they pay enough attention to them. How do you think they can choose the right school for these children?
So, I'm glad because we've actually, that has been a conversation for the past weeks, because we have the National Inclusion Conference coming up in May. So it has been a full conversation. Now, the first thing is why parents cannot support the children sometimes is because these parents are even in denial. Wow. We have a lot of parents who are in denial. We have a lot of parents that you've not told them that their child has special needs, but they're already telling you, God forbid, it can never be my portion. In the mighty name, they're already binding and casting. And special needs is not about binding, it's not about casting. It's about knowing. It's about inclusion. How is my child included in the learning? So for parents who are intentional, they would, because I was speaking to someone yesterday and I said, I know again that at that age, because I'm speaking from the early years, and it's from there you actually start to observe. I tell people that it's not when the child is in year 1 you start to observe that the child has special needs. There are some things, and the person asked me yesterday, she asked me and she said, so how, as an early years child, how? I said, we have a document, Development Matters, and there are milestones. But the first thing, for a 2-year-old, there's no eye contact. You're calling the child's name, but the child has no eye contact. Like, there are some things that you just know. You just look out for that. Okay, there might be some. Now, for them, it might just be how they're responding to their environment. So you don't, immediately say this child has special needs. But there are some things that when you look out for, you're immediately saying, okay, I noticed this, they close their ears. You just see some children sit and they're just closing their ears. Some children just like to play on their own. They don't like to mix around. So, and that's why as a parent, you must be equipped with knowledge. You must be equipped with this information. So that when things like this start to happen, you now say, okay, I know that. Then you accept it. Once you accept it, then you seek help. You now say, okay, I noticed that my child doesn't do this. I just want him to go for an assessment. So I'll give you an example. There's a school I consult for. So one of the teachers came to me and had known her son when he was, born and all of that. And then when he was 2, when he was turning 3, and then he didn't have speech, so to say. And so she met me, I think that was in February, and she was like, okay, she wants to take him, that she doesn't know what to do. The school, they don't, that she knows that at home he says 1 or 2 words, he doesn't really say so much. But when they're doing presentations in school, they take him to the back. And at the back, you can see he's making the, body, movements and all of that, but they just relegate him to the back, that she's not happy about it. I now said to her, I said, okay, so what do you think, really? This is his age. Chronologically, these are the things you're supposed to do. So as a mother, I need to ask you first, what do you think? She said, I don't think he's really meeting up, or I know that he's still young, but I don't think he's doing as much as he should do, like his mates are doing. I said, okay, that's the first step. So what I'm just going to advise, I'm not telling you, for you to just have peace, just talk to somebody. It could be somebody who you just want to assess him, to just say, oh, just help me look at him. I said, I'm not telling you to take him for a special needs assessment. For you to have peace, because she kept on saying that people have been telling her, I said, okay, for your own peace, take him and let someone just tell you he's okay. It's just his age, and children learn, But the first step was for her to accept. And that's how I was able to give my own advice to say, do X, Y, Z. But parents struggle when they don't accept. I know a parent till tomorrow who says, please, any special needs and my child are not in the same, but the child is 5, and you're asking her, what happened to you? And she's saying, what happened to you? You're asking her a question and she's asking you, but so you're telling her, what happened? And she's telling you, what happened? She's 5. So even at her age, there are some things that, but the parent will tell you, don't put special needs and my child in the same sentence. Don't even try it. And this child is going to go to year 1. Wow. So the first thing is for the parents to, accept. Don't be in denial.
And these things can be corrected, right?
Of course, they can be managed. We've seen autistic children. We've seen children with a lot of learning difficulties or disabilities that are doing wonders. But early intervention is key. Early intervention is key.
So do you think grades, right, truly reflect someone's intelligence, or just...
Oh, this question. So I would say no, it doesn't. And if you ask me why, I would say because a lot of times now, even while growing up to some extent, a lot of us read to pass. So if I read to pass, I'm cramming. And if I cram everything in my book, maybe I'm going to get an A. It doesn't mean I really understand I just read what my teacher gave me. And I just made sure I put it in my head. I remember then when I used to read, I would even put it in acronyms. Because I read political science, so we had a lot of, I'll put it in acronyms. So once I see A, I already know. But until tomorrow, I can't even remember what it is. Do you understand? So learning has to be something that will stick. There has to be understanding. So grades for me is not. Yes, there are some children that, and that's why I always like to, balance my answers, because there are some children that, yes, they get good grades and they really read and they understood. And so they're able to get good grades. And so even if you ask them those things the next day, they can answer. But again, there are some children who read to just pass and they still get good grades.
I know.
So it's relative, really.
In our days, I know it's different now. In our days, they used to rate you as were you first or second in class?
Exactly.
So do you think that parents should focus on their kids, getting brilliant results and all that, topping the school and stuff? Do you think they should focus more on that, or in a well-rounded?
So the thing is,
knowing that, right? If you're going to go anywhere to want to get a job, they're going to look at it.
Maybe the question you've asked me, you've already answered it. You've already answered it, because I was going to say that, yes, I can sit here all day and tell you, yes, look at all round. But then again, we already know what the society expects. We expect that if someone, you get someone with HND, and someone with masters. Come on, they're going to be doing even though the person paid money, let's even assume the person paid money for that master's certificate. So really, it's not it's the society we're in, but parents should actually strive to get their children grounded all round. But then the society demands that certificate talks.
I wish there was a balance to this.
I know.
Well, I guess maybe outside the country.
I know. Although there are some people that sometimes, would I say, they are favored that they might not really, because you have some people with third class who still, work in some places, but Nigeria is who you are going to call, but then again, I think we should look at, because you can have someone with first class and no character.
That character.
Someone with first class, and the way I carry character on my head, because it takes you far. It takes you far. It really takes you far. I know the rooms, by the grace of God, I've gotten into, not because before they even know that, I have this. While you were even reading my profile, I kept asking myself, Uche, sometimes I forget. Right. But I know the rooms that I've gotten into. I know the phone calls I've received just because someone said, you did this for her, and she said you were very professional and you didn't give her any stress and all of that. Do you understand? Before they even know that you have this British council, before they even know all of that.
That's very vital, because you can have, was it this discussion we're talking about character as well? You can have all A's and all that, and you get to a job, you can't
keep a job because your character is terrible. You become so toxic to the environment. But then when they look at you and they're like, how did you even get a master's? Do you understand? So character, and that's what I like to build in my children. Yes, when you go somewhere, you must be able to show that you're from a well brought up home.
So I would say there will be a balance.
There has to be a balance.
There
has to be a balance, because you don't really know where life will take you. Life can take you to a place where it's your certificate that will speak. Have the certificate. Life can take you where it's your character that will speak. Have the character.
In rounding up, because of time,
I'm enjoying myself.
Honestly, this is one of the best I've had. Right? What would you tell that mother that feels like their children is in the wrong school? Yeah, because I know what it means changing school there. It's not easy. It's not easy, apart from the expenses. Because when you pull a child from environment he's already getting used to a new one, like even as adults, it's very difficult to manage and all that. What would you tell? Look in that camera and tell that mother and just encourage them.
So, mothers, first of all, you're doing an amazing job. Trust me. I know the world can be overwhelming sometimes, but I won't really say your children are in a wrong school. Because at the end of the day, you can actually make adjustments to get your children to where you want them to be according to their ages. You can. But of course, if you are truly convinced because of the things that you have seen and you've told yourself, this school can't solve this thing for me, please don't feel bad about moving your children to the place that gives you peace. It has to be an environment that gives you peace. But then don't move them because people have told you move them, or don't move them because you've experienced just one or two hitches here or there. Move them when you are convinced, and when, like we said, you've done everything in your power as an intentional mother and it's not working, then you can move them. But don't be in a hurry to move them because people have said, move them from here. No, there's no perfect school out there. So when you move them, as A has their own headache, you move to B, you will meet headache Pro Max. You now move to C, headache Pro Max. So make sure that if you want to move them, be very convinced. Just have peace when doing it.
Thank you so. To every mother listening, your child is not a mistake, and their learning style is not a problem to fix. It's a gift to understand. The goal here is not to force every child into one system, or to discover the environment where your child can truly thrive. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow, it's been an amazing day. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us today. And to our amazing listeners, if this episode blessed you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with other mothers who need it. Until next time, this is Motherhood and Me, where we raise not just children but purpose-driven lives. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
But before you go, we have a little gift for you just to say thank you for taking our time from your busy schedule to be with us today. This is a token from the Motherhood and Me.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I unbox it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And it was an absolute pleasure being here. And I look forward to coming again. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah. You guys heard her. They're going to come over.
Of course.
I feel like today's discussion was very unique because it contributes to how our children learn, and which is very important to their growth.
Yes.
So yes, we'll definitely have you back.
Looking forward to it.
No problem.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.